My dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to start today's reflection with 3 life episodes. The first of a friend of mine that I've known for years together, and how she has almost gone to the brink of just giving up everything in life. It's been more than 25 years that she's been fighting a court case. In and out of court, so often. And there was a point of time where she was looking so haggard, completely depressed and frustrated. She was a daily mass goer. And she reached this point of time where she just couldn't take it any longer. And she kept telling me, "Father, why is God doing this to me? Why is He turning a deaf ear towards me? Why is He not listening to my plea?" And there was a point when she just stopped coming for Mass. And then I sent for her. And she says, "Father, I've given up. I've just given up. I don't think God loves me anymore. He refuses to listen to my prayer." Eventually she started coming back for Mass, but the court case is not over. She continues to run in and out of court. Take a second episode. Another friend of mine who once shared with me how for years she's been praying and praying and praying for a conversion to happen as far as her son is concerned. Her son has stopped coming for Mass. Her son has moved on to drugs, alcohol, smoking, bad company. She keeps sharing with me how the house has become like a hostel just for the night. No sign of him right through the day. And she says, "Father, I've been praying and praying and praying. He's becoming more and more abusive. He's not listening to anyone. He's begun to steal from the house because he needs the cash to buy his stuff. He's getting violent. He's raising his hand on me and his father. He's ill-treating his siblings. How much longer can I take it?" And here's another instance of a woman who feels that God is not listening to her prayer. She says, "I've been doing every possible novena. I've been running from one shrine to another. I've been going for daily Mass. I've been spending a lot of time in personal prayer. But why is God not listening to me?" No sign of that case being resolved till today. And take a third example. Again, a family that I'm close to. In a gap of 18 months, lost 3 members of that family. One was in the seminary to be a priest. 18 months, 3 deaths in that family. And eventually now, the mother is left all alone because the last son of hers also passed away some years ago. And I would visit that house regularly, trying to comfort this lady, trying to console her. But one interesting thing about this woman is not once did she ever ask me, "Why has God done this to me?" She just accepted God's plan for her in her life. And she kept praying. And that was something beautiful about her. She kept going for Mass every day, in spite of tragedy after tragedy. And she felt my greatest consolation was in prayer. I've never asked God for anything, she told me. The only thing I told God was, "Keep me happy. This is your plan. Give me the grace and the strength to accept your will." 3 real life situations, my dear brothers and sisters. And if I can add a 4th one to today's reflection, it's the gospel we heard of the Canaanite woman. Again, a real life situation, maybe not from my life, but from the lifetime of Jesus. Here is a Canaanite woman, not a Jew, coming to Jesus, already taboo. Non-Jews, women, not allowed to approach Jesus. But yet she was not afraid. She came with a request not for herself, but she came with a request for her daughter, for someone else. And look at this. On the first instance of her request, no response from Jesus. How harsh could he be? Here was a man who spoke about love, who spoke about relationships. Here was a man who healed so many. Here was a man who preached so much about goodness and just ignoring this woman. She didn't stop there. The disciples went to Jesus, do something because she's just harassing us. And that's when Jesus said, again, I've not come for these people. I've come for the lost sheep of Israel, namely the Jews, the Israelites. So once again, a second refusal to do anything to a request that has come to him. And then finally, she makes another request. Again, persisting on her request, my daughter has been tormented by the demon, only you can make her well again. And then once again, a third kind of a rebuke from Jesus, where he speaks about, I've not come for the dogs, because these foreigners were referred to as dogs. And yet she goes on to say, at least you can give me the scraps that fall from the master's table. The dogs will eat the scraps. And that is what Jesus wanted to watch. He wanted to demonstrate for everyone around him, this is faith, this is the power of prayer, this is being persistent. Now, the question we can ask ourselves today is, was Jesus testing this woman? And I'd like to say no, even though a few biblical scholars would say yes. I'd like to say no, because I do not believe that Jesus tests us. This was a self-test of the Canaanite woman. It's a self-test that we inflict on ourselves. Am I willing to go the extra mile? Am I willing not to give up? Am I willing to be persistent as far as my prayer is concerned, knowing that God will respond one way or the other? And therefore God never tests us, my dear brothers and sisters. I just believe it's a self-test. Now, where is the problem with most of us? The problem is this: we are living in what I call an instant world. So you've got instant messaging today, you've got instant coffee, you've got instant noodles, everything is jhatpat, and therefore we expect an instant response to our prayer when we're making a request to God. And I think God doesn't work that way. We sing this lovely hymn so often, in His time He makes all things beautiful. And therefore we have to be able to fit in with God's timetable and His plan for us. Don't be disappointed, my dear brothers and sisters, if your prayer request has gone unanswered. I believe one way or the other, God answers all our prayers. I'm convinced about this, and I can testify about it. Maybe He won't answer it the way we want it to be, but He will certainly answer it. 5 very little known but powerful lessons from the faith of this Canaanite woman. First of all, our prayer should always include other people. How often we just praying for ourselves. God, I want this. Allow this to happen to me. I need this today. I want this. Can you answer my prayer? Can we now shift, and can we start focusing on others? Just 2 days ago in the newspaper there was a nice article about one of our priests in our Archdiocese of Bombay who's begun this prayer mission, where he invites people between a certain time and a certain time of the day to do a WhatsApp video call, and there are prayer warriors who are praying with these people. How interesting. What a fabulous idea. And most of these prayers, my dear brothers and sisters, which I receive so many during the day, so many prayer requests, and I'm so happy a lot of people have been asking me, Father, can you pray for X, Y, or Z? Because this person has either got COVID or is suffering from a terminal ill disease or has met with an accident or something or the other. I hardly get any people ask me, can you please pray for me, Father? Which is a very good sign that we are constantly including others in our prayer. That's the first lesson we learned from the Canaanite woman. The prayer request was not about herself, it was about her daughter. Second, our prayer should be habitual, not a one-time event. We can read in today's gospel, Jesus answered her not a word. How difficult it could be for that woman to accept that her only hope of healing is now beginning to fade away. And to make things worse, the disciples urged Jesus to send her away. But Jesus further told the woman that he was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And that could be heartbreaking for anyone, my dear brothers and sisters. But the Canaanite woman persists in her requests. She did not waver. She did not lose heart. She could have easily considered Jesus as a cold and heartless teacher by the way Jesus had treated her. But we can see the persistent prayer of the Canaanite woman. Instead of turning away, she came and worshipped him, saying, "Lord, help me." And this is the kind of attitude God is looking for when we pray. Our prayer should be habitual, not just a one-time event. The third lesson, God puts more importance on building our character. Sometimes God does not immediately answer our prayers. There are times that things get worse, much worse than they were before. Our time frame seems not to coincide with God's timetable. However, just like the Canaanite woman's story, we can always be assured that all things work together for good to those who really love God. So when God doesn't seem to be answering our prayer, instead of doubting him, we need to ask ourselves, what will we learn from this experience? In every situation, it is certain that God is teaching us a lesson. The lesson that the Canaanite woman learned in today's gospel is keep asking. Don't stop. You're asking for the right thing. Keep asking. And God, one way or the other, will answer. The fourth lesson, problems should lead us towards God, not away from him. So even though we feel that God is not really responding to us, he's not answering our prayers. We're running to court for so many years. I've been praying for years and years for the conversion of my son. I've been praying for a job. I've been praying for success in examinations. It's not happening. Stop running away from God. It's all the more reason for us to keep coming even closer to him. One of the reasons people leave the church is that they can't handle the trials and difficulties associated with the Christian path that we are to follow. We must all count it with joy when we fall into various trials, because we share these trials with the Lord. And the fifth and final lesson we can learn today: our reward is at the end of the journey, not at the beginning. Take an athlete who's doing a 100-meter dash. The reward is not at the starting line. That's important, how you begin. The reward is at the finish line. Because of the strong faith and persistence of the Canaanite woman, she was praised by Jesus. Her daughter was immediately healed at that very moment in verse 28. If the Canaanite woman expected the reward at the very beginning, she should not have continued anymore. So we must realize, my dear brothers and sisters, that we bring about the self-test in our lives, but we will receive our reward. Though it is true that our Christian walk can be difficult at times, we must always remember, when all things are said and done, it will always be worth it. I believe there are three ways that God answers our prayers. First, he will say yes to what we are asking for. Second, he will say no, because he wants to give you something better. Or third, he will say wait a while, because I want to give you the best. God bless, and do have a Jesus-filled day.